Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am back with Week 5's edition of What Have We Learned? I'm going to go down the list of all the games that took place in Week 5 and give my analysis on what have we learned from each team that competed in the games in Week 5. I will not be going over teams that had a bye because, well, they didn't play. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We'll get started with last Thursday's game between the Arizona Cardinals at the St. Louis Rams. The Rams won this game by the score of 17-3. What we learned is that the Rams are pretty competitive at home. I stated this in my prediction, and came true. They are a fierce team at home. That defense, Jeff Fisher has done a tremendous job in reshaping the culture and the mindset of how the St. Louis Rams compete. Now, back then, a couple years ago, heck, even last year, you walk into the Rams Stadium and you think this is an automatic W, and you wouldn't be far off. But the way Jeff Fisher has this team competing week in and week out, whether they win or lose, um, it's a sight to behold. That team is not the Rams team of what they've been since 2007 on. Like, this Rams team will punch you in the mouth. They will go at your head. And, yeah, Cardinals found that out the hard way. What we learned about the Arizona Cardinals is that, yeah, they were 4-0, and they were the first of the last unbeatens. Or there were three unbeaten, there were three undefeated teams, the Falcons, the Texans, and the Cardinals. They were the first team to bow out of the undefeated ranks. And how they bowed out, if you watch that game, it wasn't a pretty game. But it was especially super ugly for the Arizona Cardinals. What we learned about them is that they're not going to go anywhere unless they shore up that offensive line. No quarterback is going to have any kind of rhythm or any kind of consistency when he's being sacked 9 times. Yes, count that. 9 times. That's pathetic. And then on top of that, they have no running game. And they really have no running game now, as a couple days ago, well, either yesterday or a couple days ago, it was announced that Ryan Williams, their running back that they drafted out of Virginia Tech, he is out for the season. So you have Beanie Wells, who's banged up. You have Ryan Williams, who's out for the season. So that leaves Stevens Howling, and I'll have to look at their roster. But they have no running game, and they don't have an offensive line. They have a stout defense, but that defense can only do so much when you have an offense that can't move the ball down the field or can't protect their quarterback. So the Cardinals, they were living on a prayer being 4-0 to begin with. Now we're all gonna see just how much they actually have in the tank with a patched up offensive line and a anemic running game. So moving forward, the Philadelphia Eagles at the Pittsburgh Steelers. What we learned about the Eagles is that Vic is going to cost you a lot of games. If he can't hold on to the ball, if he can't protect the ball, he leads the league in turnovers. He has 11 turnovers. He's he's lost 5 fumbles at this point. Like, he has a serious case of fumbleitis, and it's not so much how many times he's fumbling; it's when he's fumbling. There was a goal line. There was a sequence where the Eagles were at the Steelers' goal line, and he was going to run it in. I don't know why Andy Reid even decided to even call this play. And they tried to have Vic run it in. He fumbles the ball in the end zone. Steelers recover, touchback. And that's 7 points that they lost easily. What we learned about the Eagles is that if he's a turnover machine like he's been, that team is 9-7 at best. I really don't see the Eagles making that much noise, because it predicates on how well Vic protects the ball and how he gets the ball downfield. And you can't do that when you're giving the ball to the opposition. What we learned about the Pittsburgh Steelers is that coming off a bye at home, they're not going to lose at home. And it was a tough game. It was a heavily hard-fought game. It was like 16-14. It was one of those old-school gritty style battles. Roethlisberger did what he needed to do to get the ball down the field, to give his kicker a chance to win the game. Did that. Rashard Mendenhall coming back ran well. What we also learned is that Polamalu is seriously banged up. He's not even going to play in tonight's game against the Titans. Um, but he's been damaged. He hasn't really looked the same since before the Super Bowl where they played the Packers. Like he looks a step slower. Obviously, he's not staying healthy. They really might want to look into investing in another strong safety. But knowing that franchise and knowing that that front office, they know this, they're aware of it, and they'll make the moves they need to make. But what we learned about the Steelers is that through resiliency, Roethlisberger once again clutch, and they got the job done. So, moving on into the upset of the week, the Green Bay Packers at the Indianapolis Colts. I picked the Packers to win this one. I was dead wrong. When you're playing an emotionally charged team like the Colts, you always bet on them. Kind of like last year when Al Davis passed and the Oakland Raiders beat the Houston Texans. What we learned about the Packers is that this is a very bad Packers team. Yes, they have reigning NFL MVP Aaron Rodgers. Yes, this is the team that went 15-1 last season. Yes, this is the team 2 seasons ago that won the Super Bowl. But this is not that team. This is not the Super Bowl caliber Green Bay Packers. Their defense is terrible. Their defense is absolutely atrocious, and which is ridiculous when they have such, big names like Clay Matthews, Charles Woodson, Tramon Williams. They lost B.J. Raji in the game. Maybe that has something to do with it, but this is a team that's 2-3. Yes, you read that right, 2-3. Albeit, one of those losses is due to some extreme controversy, but the number's the number. They're 2-3 right now, and they have a lot of issues, and really it predicates on that defense. How do you not stop a rookie QB from running up and down the field on you? Now, granted, that rookie QB was none other than Andrew Luck, who is not a bad quarterback at all. But the way he was able to just move up and down that field at will was impressive, and yet as a Packers fan, depressing. On top of that, Reggie Wayne was the Reggie Wayne of like 2006, 2007. 13 catches, over 200 yards receiving. I mean, seriously, this man ran buck wild on that secondary. And on top of that, what we learned about the Colts is that, emotionally charged, they're a really good team. And Andrew Luck, he is the quarterback of the future for the Colts. He is their franchise QB, and he proved it in this game. And Reggie Wayne still has a lot left in the tank. The running game with Donald Brown out, they're going to have to work on that, but this team competes week in and week out. This was supposed to be the year they were rebuilding. No, they're competing. So that's what we learned about those two teams. Next up, Cleveland Browns at the New York Giants. What we learned about the Cleveland Browns is that they're still the Browns. They still find ways to lose. They give you that glimpse of hope, whereas they went up 14-0 on the New York Giants. Then all of a sudden, they just collapsed and let the Giants run wild. Brandon Whedon will give you, a glimpse of having the moxie of being a rookie QB who you can build around, and then he'll turn around and do something completely ridiculous, like throwing unnecessary picks or throwing a ball at a helmet of his own player, catching it, and then throwing it in the end zone, knowing that you cannot make 2 forward passes. And like I said, still the Browns. That team is cursed. Trent Richardson is a bowling ball. Why would you deviate from giving him the ball? If you watch that game, the Giants had hell trying to tackle him. But it's the Browns. They're going to find a way to lose. And if they lose this week, it will be their 12th straight loss, which is the most in the franchise's history since they've been playing ball since 1946. Think about that. So, tough break, Browns fans. What we learned about the Giants is that, once again, when playing with a deficit, Eli Manning can get you out of a situation. He thrives on these come-from-behind moments. I don't understand why people don't want to give him credit for being clutch. Yes, it was against the Browns, but to be down 2 touchdowns and to win by pretty much 2 touchdowns at the end, Eli gets it done. Victor Cruz, I don't know if the Cleveland Browns forgot that he was a major player on that offense, but he had 5 catches in that game. 3 of them were for touchdowns. But I think the story here was Ahmad Bradshaw. Ahmad Bradshaw ran buck wild on the Cleveland Browns. 200 yards rushing. Yes, 200 yards. 2 bills he dropped on them. And, I mean, he ran with aggression, with passion. I mean, now, if they can get this consistently out of Ahmad Bradshaw, they'd be fine. They'd be good. But time will tell. And, of course, their game coming this Sunday, which I'll get in my predictions, is going to be a major one. Let's just say it's a rematch of a very, very, very good game in last year's postseason. So, moving forward, we have the Atlanta Falcons at the Washington Redskins. Now, for a minute, my upset bold prediction almost came true. And then RG3 doesn't know the rules of getting out of bounds. He tried to slide near the sideline and got knocked out by Witherspoon of the Falcons. Knocked out, concussed. So that brings in Kirk Cousins. Granted, he almost got it done. Somebody blew coverage. He hit Santana Moss. They go up, but then again, Matt Ryan marches down the field, gets him up. And then Kirk Cousins turns into a rookie QB and throws 2 unnecessarily ill-advised interceptions. What we learned about the Redskins is that they better teach RG3 how to be a safer quarterback. Do not become Vic 2.0. You're not built for that. And also, that's pretty much the main thing. They could have won that game if RG3 would have stayed healthy, in my honest opinion. What we learned about the Falcons is that, once again, they're still undefeated. They're 5-0, and they keep finding ways to win. And if Julio Jones can stay consistent with his hands, that's a dangerous offense that's going to be running up and down the field all season long. But what we learned about the Falcons and what we learned about them from the last few weeks. They find ways to get it done. And they're one of the elite teams in the league right now, as their record states. So, no more needs to be said. Miami Dolphins and Cincinnati Bengals. This was a mild upset. The Dolphins beat the Bengals. What we learned about the Dolphins is that they have a damn sneaky good defense. They really do. They shut down the Bengals' high-flying offense with Andy Dalton and A.J. Green. They found ways to contain them and pretty much took them out of their element. And they got it done. So, Reggie Bush, he ran well. Tannehill didn't make any mistakes, and he's another rookie QB who's making some great strides. If they get a number 1 receiver, hey, you might have to watch out for them. But what we learned about the Dolphins is that they are playing much more competitive. Joe Philbin has a really good grasp of that team right now, and they're responding to him, and they're doing very well, given what a lot of people predicted them to do. What we learned about the Bengals is that they're going to have to look for another running back to help out Ben Jarvis Green Ellis because Bernard Scott is done for the season. We learned that basically they got shut down. They got shut down in this game. Andy Dalton couldn't move like he wanted to move, and he made some rookie mistakes. But what we learned about them is that they're going to have games like that, and it's not to discredit them. It's just, it is what it is. And they'll bounce back, and they'll keep it moving. So, having said that, Baltimore, Kansas City. This was the reenactment of the game last season between Alabama and LSU before their national title game. Yes, this is a 9-6 game. Baltimore won this one, although that had a little bit of controversy as well. Let's just say fumbles that should have went the other way. But, it is what it is. Baltimore, what we learned about them is that Flacco is inconsistent. He'll have games where he balls out, and he'll have games where he sputters. That offense sputtered. Obviously, when you have the only points you get are from 3 field goals from your kicker, yeah, that's sputtering. It's still a dangerous team. They still found a way to win, but from what it seems, Ray Lewis shedding a lot of that weight. He's finding it difficult to come up off some of those blocks when it comes time to make a play on the run. But Baltimore, they're still sitting pretty at 4-1. It was an ugly game. They came out with a victory in one of the more hostile environments, and now they're at home going to play Dallas. So What we learned about Kansas City, this is a team that still sucks. And it gets worse because they're starting QB, Matt Castle, who I heard that some fans were cheering him getting hurt, which is, come on now. That's ridiculous. But he's out. Matt Castle's out. Brady Quinn is in. Good luck with that. But Jamal Charles is still running hard, which, I guess if there's a bright spot, that's that. But this team, for the weapons that they had and really the promise that they showed, how did this team win the AFC West a couple seasons ago? Huh. Well, what we learned about them is that, they got some major problems, and Romeo Crennel and Scott Pioli and Matt Castle better really watch their backs because, they're under the microscope at this point. So, having said that, I will be back with part 2, the second half of my picks, in a moment.